watching Wellness Watch on DD India, your weekly dose of wellness and good health. We all want a long life, but more importantly, a healthy one. We spend years building our careers, chasing dreams, and planning the future. But how often do we plan for our health? Turning 30 is not just about more responsibilities, it is about our body asking for more attention. What if the real metamorphosis after 30 is not just success, but good health that lasts a lifetime? Preventive healthcare is not just a norm, but a necessity. It isn't about living longer, it is about living better. After 30, every step you take today decides the quality of your tomorrow. Today in Wellness Watch, we discuss preventive healthcare after 30. I'm Preeti Kaur. Your 30s are a turning point for long-term health. The body begins to change gradually, metabolism slows, stress increases, and lifestyle habits start showing real effects. This is the decade to focus on prevention rather than correction. Simple daily choices like regular exercise, balanced eating, timely health tests, and good sleep can help maintain energy, strength, and overall well-being. Here's a report by DD India's Harshit Oberoi on the key areas to focus on to stay healthy and stress-free after 30.
Your 30s are often the busiest phase of life, balancing career growth, relationships, and family responsibilities. But this is also when silent physical changes begin. Metabolism gradually slows, muscle mass may decline, and bone density starts reducing, making preventive care more important than ever. Regular physical activity plays a major role in maintaining strength and energy. At least 150 minutes of weekly activity, along with strength training 2 to 3 times a week, helps preserve muscle and bone density. Simple habits like walking after meals, stretching, or yoga can significantly improve heart health and flexibility. Nutrition also becomes increasingly important during this decade. A balanced diet, rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, and healthy fats, helps manage weight and reduces inflammation. Adequate calcium and vitamin D intake supports bone health, while limiting processed foods and excess sugar lowers the risk of lifestyle diseases. Regular health checks become important even without symptoms. Monitoring blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar helps identify silent health risks early. Women are also encouraged to track reproductive health changes and seek medical advice if menstrual patterns shift or fertility concerns arise. Skin checks for abnormal moles or cancer signs, along with routine eye, dental, and general health checkups, provide a clearer picture of overall well being and allow timely lifestyle adjustments when needed. Mental well being is equally critical. Chronic stress can affect sleep, immunity, and heart health. Prioritizing sleep, practicing mindfulness, and maintaining social connections can help improve emotional resilience. Skin changes may appear in the 30s as collagen levels gradually decline. Daily sun protection, proper hydration, and consistent skincare routines help maintain healthy skin. Protecting skin from excessive sun exposure also reduces premature aging and long term damage. Bone density and muscle mass slowly begin to decline after 30. Weight bearing exercises and adequate calcium and vitamin D intake help maintain strength. Good posture and core exercises also help prevent back pain caused by sedentary routines. Ultimately, healthy aging does not begin later in life, it starts now. Small, consistent lifestyle choices made during your 30s can prevent chronic disease, maintain energy levels, and support physical and mental well being for decades to come. Harshita Obroy's report for Wellness Watch TD India.
All right, so preventive healthcare is a proactive approach to maintaining health and well-being by identifying potential health risks early and also preventing diseases onset. Rather than waiting for symptoms to appear or illness to strike, preventive care emphasizes on early detection, routine monitoring and lifestyle management. A central aspect of preventive healthcare is regular health checkups for conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol imbalances and certain types of cancer. Preventive care also includes vaccinations which protect individuals from infectious diseases and encourage healthy habits such as balanced nutrition, regular physical activity, stress management and avoiding smoking or excessive alcohol consumption. Today in Wellness Watch, we look for these answers. Why is turning 30 a turning point? What preventive healthcare has to be taken after 30? We will also discuss lifestyle pillars to focus on and the common mistakes to avoid. And we also take a look at the long-term vision for a healthy life ahead. All right, the government hospitals in India under the National Health Mission and Ayushman Bharat are focusing on preventive healthcare through over 1.77 lakh upgraded Ayushman Arogya Mandirs. Now, these facilities provide free screenings for non-communicable diseases like diabetes and hypertension, maternal and child health checkups and vaccinations. Up on your screens, we have some hospitals and institutes that specially cater to this. All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi, Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai, Government Multi-Super Speciality Hospital, Chennai, Safdarjung Hospital, Delhi and Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh. To help us understand better how we should live beyond 30, we're joined in by guests in the studio. We're joined in by Dr. Karan Madan, Professor, Department of Pulmonary Medicine, AIIMS, New Delhi. And we're also joined in by Dr. Akhil Singh, Additional Professor, Department of Anesthesiology, Pain Medicine and Critical Care, AIIMS. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us this afternoon on Wellness Watch. Dr. Karan, to begin with, help us understand why 30 is a turning point. Is it really a medical milestone or just a social one?
See, 30 is, when we talk, it is like a transition. You are from a youthful young age, you are, in a mode that, everything goes okay. So with that mode, you've been exercising, not exercising, keeping a healthy habit or not, the body tends to absorb all that, pressure. But then during this phase, you don't tend to realize, and before you, realize, and within 5 to 7 or 10 years later, you realize that your body may be in a state that, you've lost a lot. So I think the idea of 30s, it's not a, hard figure, but it's like a transition happening from young age youthfulness to, middle age, in which if you don't take care of your body, you may land up into a situation that you may need to do a lot of effort, or sometimes the kind of reversal to a healthy state may become very, very challenging. So that is the precise idea that, you need to be aware and take some actions, to take care of, a healthy life.
I'll take that forward to Dr. Akhil. Dr. Akhil, when is it that, how early do the lifestyle diseases start developing?
So that's a great question, actually. Well, it depends on a lot of factors. Number one would be obviously your environment and your family history. If you have a strong family history of metabolic disorders like diabetes or hypercholesterolemia or obesity, you are at a higher risk of developing these diseases earlier versus when you do not have such a family history. So it's difficult to say when it develops, but like you already mentioned, 30 is the time when you transition from youth to middle age, and that's when most of these metabolic conditions start reflecting in your day-to-day life.
All right. Dr. Karan, let's talk about awareness. How aware are people when it comes to this transition? Do you see a change in perspective of how men approach their 30s and how women approach their 30s?
So you see, the awareness or that, the perspective is slowly increasing, but I would still say that for a majority of our population, like we are in a public sector setup, the people who come from all kind of socioeconomic strata. So I think in a majority, this transition or the importance is really not, present, because many of the times people are busy, taking care of their livelihood or transitioning, as we discussed in the the clip, that the trying to balance career and everything. So that is the time people really are not very well focused. There will be a few people who are focused as a part of their life from childhood or young age, that they are in a good schedule, take care of diet, take care of exercise. But that's not, I would say, a majority. I would say that's still a minority. So that is why we need to be more aware about preventive health than ever before, given the fact that now we really have an epidemic of non-communicable disease conditions like diabetes, heart disease, cancers, which are really taking epidemic proportions. So I think preventive health assumes a very, very important role in the present day world.
All right, I'll take that forward again to Dr. Akhil. Dr. Akhil, what preventive healthcare has to be taken? As Sir did talk of the transition, and you also put forth how important is it to change according to the growing years. What preventive healthcare should be taken by a person turning 30?
So we can divide it basically into either medical tests, which we'll talk about later. But to begin with, we want to make sure that you continue exercising if you have been doing it before, or if you have not, then you start gradually increasing your exercise time during your week. Like the report mentioned, 150 minutes per week, which basically translates into 30 minutes of vigorous exercise every day for 5 days. That takes care of your 150 minutes per week. Plus a healthy diet. That's extremely important, especially in our fast-paced world today. Everyone's so geared towards enhancing their career, climbing the corporate ladder. We tend to put our health on the back burner. Make sure that these two pillars are taken care of, and then you can discuss what tests you would like to do.
All right, we'll take that right now itself. What medical tests have to be taken? Because generally people are of this perception that I am healthy, I'm not showing any symptoms, so there's no need for me to get tested or to get vaccinated. Right. So how do you put it across to the people that health is an investment and not an expense?
Yeah, so that's a very valid point. One thing I'd like to mention is that if you wait for symptoms to show up on your tests or physically, it will be probably too late. So it's always better to keep an eye, be ahead of the curve, and try to do regular testing every few years or every few months, depending on your situation. To begin with, we would like to have a complete blood work, like a complete blood count would be helpful. A lipid profile testing would be necessary. Liver function tests, kidney function tests. These are the basic tests which are available everywhere, and these should be done on a regular basis. At least once a year is advisable for people above the age of 30.
Dr. Madan, when we talk of lifestyle changes or lifestyle pillars, what are these pillars that one should focus on?
See, we've discussed these things that, we are talking here about preventive health, and, you're talking about what will be the pillars of a preventive health and a healthy lifestyle. So I think one thing, as we discussed, would be, diet, which should be healthy, some things which are in someone's control. So diet is something which is in your control. We had, in the clip also that, you need to consume a balanced diet, which should be, rich in whole grains and fruits, and avoid, most of the things which comes packaged, something like, artificially sweetened things, because there's been, a kind of an epidemic proportion to which sweetened items, took over. And I think avoiding excessive, artificial sweet is one should do. The other thing one should do is a level of exercise. That's a pillar. It is kind of underrated, but I think it's important to realize that you really don't need to, go to a gym or find a dedicated place to exercise. Exercise could be of any form, like even a brisk walk, wherever you may do it. That could, give you some degree of, exercise in which your heart at least has to work to some degree. So, that contributes towards heart health. The other thing is, if you have family history of diseases, this is also important. Some people have history of early cardiovascular disease in, say, family, parents or somebody in the family. Then I think it becomes all the more important that you become vigilant, because there's maybe sometimes a genetic component that, you are more prone to heart disease in that way. So you may be more vigilant, take a cardiology opinion timely, do your lipids. Also very important things which are components of a annual or a preventive health is keeping a watch on your blood pressure. A blood pressure assessment. Second thing is blood sugar assessment. These are very, very important, because I think in our national non-communicable disease program, AMBIT also, diabetes and hypertension are two things which, really come to the forefront. So I think it doesn't take really much to get your blood pressure checked. Also, it doesn't take much to get your blood sugar readings checked. So these are two things if you can check which are there. Other things is females above 30 could undertake something called as a self breast examination, because breast cancer is something on the rise, and you may you want to pick up things early. So if there is any nodule or anything developing and it is a female who feels it, they can take timely assessment. And also then there can be guided assessment or evaluation for other cancer screenings also. So I think if you talk about these things, I think diet and exercise, a focused assessment of certain things which will contribute to long-term health are important.
All right, very aptly put and very comprehensively explained. But then, Dr. Akhil, we are leading such busy lives that sleep is something which is taken for granted the most. To what extent does sleep get affected as the person grows older? Because we have so many cases wherein people try to catch up on their sleep during the weekends, when they want to sleep but they're not getting sleep. How would you explain this? How is sleep affected with a person growing with age?
Yeah, so sleep is an extremely important yet underrated component of good health. We know for a fact, multiple studies have shown that a good quality sleep has positive effects on blood pressure, on blood sugar management, on stress levels in the body, and all these contribute towards a good overall health in a person. So it is extremely important that you at least manage 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep every night. In case you have a job which does not allow for such a sleep, you have to ensure that you manage to get good consolidated 5 to 6 hours of sleep in a stretch at least. Also, if you're not able to contribute to your sleep quota every day, you have to ensure that you are managing your stress levels. You may be doing some exercises or practicing yoga or mindfulness. But these are extremely important steps to be taken. As you grow older, not in your age group of 30s, but 50s or 60s, you tend to have fragmented sleep. You tend to have a total duration of sleep becomes less. So again, there are multiple modalities which you can do. Please talk to a physician about it, how you can increase your quality of sleep.
All right, Dr. Karan, when we talk of, you talked of diet, you talked of exercises. What role do preventive vaccinations play? Are there specific vaccinations which a person should voluntarily get himself done?
See, vaccination
after turning 30?
Yes, so I think vaccination, we understand that the role is predominantly, in the childhood when we, want to give vaccinations for prevention of, diseases which are communicable diseases, and that's a standard, group of vaccines which are given. In above 30s, so there is a concept of targeted vaccination. So say somebody has a chronic, disease of some organ, say chronic lung disease, chronic liver disease, or conditions which lead to an immunocompromised state. Those would be the group of individuals where one would consider, specific preventive vaccinations, especially for prevention of influenza and prevention of pneumococcal illness. The other vaccines which are there, there is a human papilloma virus vaccine for prevention of cervical cancer, which can also be used sometimes till middle age. And then there are certain vaccines which are, case-based vaccines which are given above the age of, 50s or 60s, is, prevention of influenza or pneumococcus. So I think the other vaccination is sometimes, is a tetanus booster, which can be sometimes required periodically, say 10 years later. But I think the concept of vaccination mostly is of a targeted, focused vaccination, which you do for preventive health.
All right, Dr. Akhil, we talked about vaccinations, we talked about sleep, we talked about different pillars of, health which have to be taken care of. Do our bodies also react or receive differently the food we consume after 30, or for that matter, is there a special, we all should take a balanced diet, but then are there any specific components of a balanced diet which have to be taken in increased quantity given the way our bodies change in our 30s?
Yeah, that's a great question actually, especially with regards to the Indian population, because our diets tend to be protein deficient. So the advised daily protein intake is at least 1 gram per kilogram of body weight. Suppose if I weigh 70 kilograms, I should be taking 70 grams of protein in my daily diet. So we have to ensure that we consume adequate protein. If you're a vegetarian, that becomes slightly tricky, but it can still be achieved. Good sources of protein in the Indian diet, in the Indian vegetarian diet, are paneer, soya, pulses, and legumes. So that's a great source of protein. If you're non-vegetarian, it's easier to achieve that target. Multiple vitamin deficiencies are quite rampant in the Indian population. So you make sure that you are eating a balanced diet, have green leafy vegetables, lots of fruits are advisable. The fiber content of your diet should also be good. If you're eating raw vegetables and raw fruits, that should be taken care of. A good fiber content helps in regulation of your bowel movements, as well as reduces the incidence of hypercholesterolemia, reduces the content of lipids in the body as well. So that's an important aspect.
All right, Dr. Karan, give us very quick tips as to what mistakes one should avoid when he's approaching the 30s.
So I think if we talk about mistakes, something you do knowingly that it can harm your body, but you still do. So very importantly is don't smoke, alcohol avoidance. So these are risk factors which are known to cause multitude of diseases. Smoking is one of the strongest risk factors for cancer, not just lung cancer, but other organ cancers like bladder cancer, pancreatic cancer, renal cancer, and oral cancer. So there's a huge list. The other thing is alcohol. Alcohol is also a very important carcinogen, and that also can contribute to fatty liver. It can contribute to heart disease and also contributes to cancer. So I think then chewing of tobacco and containing substances which can lead to increased risk of oral cancer. So these are some things which you should avoid, knowing that these are known risk factors for cancer and other heart diseases which you knowingly do. The other thing is, preventive steps in terms of diet is we heard about what one should take, but also what one should not take. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, avoiding intake of excessive, artificially sweetened substances, because sugar, which you eat more, translates into more of fat, and that also translates into, heart disease and lot of, the other problems which happen. And then I think maintaining a degree of a healthy lifestyle in which exercise is your routine. And also I would like to stress that some people get into that mode of suddenly getting into a very hectic or a rigorous exercise schedule when they've not been exercising at all. So I think this is also very important, because your body takes time to adjust. Our body's physiological mechanisms are tuned to handle things gradually. If you stress your body too rapidly after a period of gross inactivity, this may, strain your heart and cardiovascular system and can actually increase the risk of problems. So I think whatever you do, whichever lifestyle habits you adopt, you should do that as a gradual transition and then be consistent with them to,
yes,
maintain them.
Very important tips put forth by our doctors today in the show. We're discussing how life after 30 should be dealt with. Preventive healthcare is what we're discussing today. We'll have a quick rapid fire round. I'll ask crisp questions to our doctors for the benefit of our viewers. Dr. Karan, to you first. If someone feels healthy, there is no need for tests. Is it so?
Not at all. I think this is a myth. If you are healthy, you should take it as a positive that, okay, things are okay, but that does not mean that things are okay inside. I mean, you need to, still be vigilant and take all steps that this healthy state continues.
Dr. Akhil, supplements after 30 are necessary for everyone. Is it so?
That's false. Please ensure that you have a healthy diet, good sleep, and you exercise regularly. That should take care of most of your body needs otherwise. Supplements are not required for everyone.
All heart issues and health risks only affect people over 50, Dr. Karan?
Not at all. I think this is a big myth, because we are seeing increasing cardiovascular and heart problems in the young. Hypertension, even coronary artery disease, means heart attacks are also increasingly seen. So I think the fact of the matter is that the ill health or the heart disease are not just limited to a problem of an old age. So I think be vigilant about them, keep a watch on your blood pressure, healthy diet, and if you have risk factors, take care and consult your physician.
Fertility stops or plummets at 30, Dr. Akhil?
So that depends from case to case, but generally fertility is okay at the age of 30, starts reducing after the age of 35.
It's too late to start a fitness routine, Dr. Karan?
Not at all. I think there is no age at which it is late to start. So even if it's your any age, 40, 50, 60, I mean, you can begin at any point of time. But the only important thing is that you be gradual, give your body time to adapt. But the benefits of exercise and a fitness routine will be across ages.
And metabolism will always take a sharp nosedive after 30. Dr. Akhil.
Not true again. If you have a healthy diet, if you exercise regularly, your metabolism will remain what it was, but gradually slow down after the age of 40.
Thank you so much, both of you, for helping us understand preventive healthcare at 30 and helping us take forward the advices which you gave. Thank you so much for your participation. All right, after this discussion, we did understand that health problems do not appear overnight, but they build silently. It is never too late, in fact, never too early to protect your health. The choices you make in your 30s will reflect in your 40s and 50s. Your 30s are not a warning, they are an opportunity. Start small, stay consistent, and make prevention your strongest protection. Remember, after 30, the goal is not just to add years to your life, but to add life to those years. On that note, we end this edition. Till we meet next, take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.